Welcome back. Welcome to another edition of Nain's Shorts, where we just talk about training and martial arts because guess what? It's one of my passions. I love martial arts. I don't know them all. I wish I could study them all, but that's not realistic because there's so many out there, so many histories, some that have been lost, some that have been changed so much that they're very far from their original course. And of course, you also have cinema that has glamorized so many martial arts and the history behind it, but how much of it is true? How much of it is real? And today I was contemplating one of those ideas. Now, you see in these old kung fu movies where this student, this one lone student, the last one remaining because the school went into detriment, or it's a hermit that never taught anyone except this one special case, and they get to the end and they've learned everything they've had to learn, and the master has this final lesson, this one eye-opening thing that puts everything together, and then they can go off on their journey of revenge or whatever the plot of the story is. And I started thinking, how real is that? Are there still arts out there that have been around for so long or have such a tradition that once a student reaches a certain point, they get that secret lesson? They get that one thing that nobody else knows, that isn't disseminated to anyone else except that one student that has shown whatever categories that they're supposed to show, that allows them to know the secret. Is that still a thing? Because I wonder about that. Like, say there is. Say that we really do have some arts that still have those secret things that nobody else knows. And with today's technology, I find that hard to believe because, well, everyone makes a video about everything. And maybe there's still a way to keep that secret because it is only something that's passed down via word from teacher to student. And then that student kills the teacher, or the teacher dies, or offers them fish heads. Whatever the case may be, or however you keep the secret, do they still exist? Are they still there? And what's so secretive about it? Like, what sort of information about the human body that somebody knows that we can't find somewhere else or hasn't already been learned? I don't know. I don't know any secrets. I've been studying this for 11 years and I'm still learning new stuff from the same teacher while trying to get information from so many other places. But hypothetically speaking, let's say that that does exist. How do we evaluate that a student is ready for that secret art? Is it a matter of time? Have they put in a certain amount of decades or loyalty or performance? Have they gone out and fought in real things? Because we're talking about a modern society now, 2025. What would the category be here in this area? I mean, I'm sure other countries, fistfights are a regular thing. Well, I guess even in this country, it's a regular thing. I just don't happen to live in one of those neighborhoods where it is a regular thing, so I don't actually know. I can only imagine that in those areas, yeah, if there is a secret master somewhere that's hermiting his life away, that's teaching just one particular kid who's actually going around fighting, how long will it be before that student gets that final lesson, that secret art, assuming that one exists? Huh? Because even now, we've heard stories about certain individuals that have had a good enough following where they had some students that still practice to the day, that have had their own students in schools and so on and so forth. And we've heard that each one of them received their final lesson, and each one of them received a different final lesson. And honestly, my personal take on that is that the instructor, the main guy, just wanted to fuck with them. He gave each one of them a different lesson and told them that it was the secret, the original, the best, the one. And they all got something different. And now that they're older and he's passed away, they can argue about it and he's just laughing in his grave. Now, that could be the case, or it could be that each individual student had a different growth or was going in a different direction, and this master, this grand supreme master, created a lesson for each one of them. At the end, they all learned the same basic stuff, they all have the same basic ideas, but then at the end he gives them something that is only for that individual. And maybe that's what a secret art is. It's less about this one secret that is being hidden from everyone and kept from everyone, but maybe it's just that. It's like, hey, you've been working your ass off, you know everything you're supposed to know, you know all the art, you know that I really can't teach you much else except this one thing. And all it is a personal revelation for that individual, and because they trust their master, they take it to heart, and they build an entire life afterwards on that principle, or that idea, that one lesson. Maybe that's what a secret art is. It isn't about, oh, it's something about the art that's so hidden, this, 5-point pressure strike that makes somebody's heart explode. Like, if that exists, I mean, don't get me wrong, that sounds really cool. I wouldn't want to have it done on me, but still, very cool. But it's more about the individual lesson that they get. Because if we think about the old way of doing things, or at least what I perceive the old way of doing things based on stories and movies and everything else that I've read and the people that have told me these stories, yeah, martial arts was a very big thing. It was dedicated. You spent your life. You would even go and live at the dojo and perform daily activities that were both part of your training and the maintenance of the dojo itself. You gave yourself to that training as a lifestyle. It wasn't a matter of, oh, I just go to class on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It was your everyday life. And for that degree of dedication, yeah, some sort of reward does seem to be implied. Like, but again, how long does that take, or who gets chosen? That's to each the individual. Because even now, in the modern age, how do we choose when a student is ready to even rank up? Is it because they know the curriculum? Have they shown enough effort? Have they performed the art a certain way? What criteria do we use to determine that? And for those that won't sit in a horse stance for 30 minutes, and I'm being generous because I know some of you older practitioners will say, yeah, that was a light day, because there was a time where you had to sit in a horse stance for X amount of time just to learn the basics. That was just the beginning, let alone all the arts and everything else. So nowadays, do we do that? Should we do that? And if so, they give you enough dedication and time, what is their reward? What do they get? Do they get some secret art? Do they learn something fundamentally unknown to the rest of us that haven't put in the dedication and time? And for the ones that don't put the dedication and time, what do they get? Do they still get the belt? All these things, yeah, it's kind of a silly conversation to be having about whether or not...
Ask me about the lesson that I only give to Eric.
You're stupid.
Repeat that. Tell him what I just said.
Rick just asked about the lesson that he only gives to Eric. Now, yes, Rico is a bit of a different individual, and it has spawned the Bladed Mind Ronin through that mindset. And the mindset is that everyone gets a different lesson. Everyone gets a different teaching. Now, not that the curriculum is different, because 2 hands, 2 feet, we can only move so much, and because we do Filipino martial arts as our basis, well, yeah, it's all based on the sword, the stick, the knife, all that. So it's all the same stuff. But the way an individual takes information is going to be to that individual. Therefore, the lessons then become individualized. They become just for him. The way that Eric is learning is really fast-paced. He's coming along way faster than I ever did. But that has a lot to do with him as who he is. And so the lessons reflect that. He's never taught me the way that he teaches Eric, but he also has never taught Eric the way he taught me. Just because I guess I'm more of a bonehead, so I had to suffer a lot more to learn this shit that I learned, versus Eric actually has some brains, so he gets the lesson a little faster. And because of that, there's a switch. And that's my perspective, and that's the reason why I ask these questions about the other arts that are out there. Because I really don't know. The way I've been taught is very different from what I've seen or the way that other people have explained to me their process of teaching. Many people that are now a couple years older than me have very banged up bodies because of the way that they were taught, because of the way that they practice their art. Some of them accidents, some of them just because of how harsh the training was. What was their reward? They get to teach that to the next generation. But because of what they experienced, it changed the way that they went about their teachings. Now, I will question, is it for the better or for the detriment of the art? Are we coddling kids so much that they get to a point where they get the belt, they get the rank, but they really have no world experience, so when they find themselves in a bad situation, they flop. Everything that they learned doesn't work. Would that secret, that final lesson have fit then? Would that have been the good time for the reveal of what the reality of martial arts truly is for you or your school? Would that have made a difference? And do we ever question the idea as instructors, are we teaching them well enough to handle themselves in a real situation, in a bad situation? And I know it was a silly conversation that we started off with. Do we still have secret arts, and how do we determine when to teach them? But ultimately, it's martial arts. It's for fighting, it's for contact. Whether you do it gently in class, whether you go way too hard, I'm not questioning whether one is better or not. I'm just saying, are we doing enough ourselves as instructors? And if we're not, what are we missing? And how do we evaluate that? Because everyone's going to have their own opinion, everyone's going to have their own take on it. And if it works for you, great. If you see the results, if you see the results in your students, awesome. But ultimately, if we're teaching people how to defend themselves, we're only ever going to see the result once they have to. And by then it might be too late. And even if they succeed, was it really what we taught them, or were they just always there mentally or physically? Because if a guy that we're teaching is 6'4" and 300 something pounds of pure muscle, athletic, and we teach him our art, is it really the art that saved him or his size? I mean, things to take about. If somebody is just really good at talking, or their opponent just really sucks at what they're doing, even though they're a small stature, they still win. Was it really the art, or was it the other person's clumsiness? Just questions to ask. I don't know how to evaluate any of this, and I'm just asking these questions because I'm curious. What is your take on it? How do we truly evaluate if our students are ready for what's to come, the unforeseen? And have we done enough? Have we taught them the secrets of our art well enough? And have they earned it to actually receive that lesson? Just a question. Thank you for joining me on another one of Nain Shorts. I'm going to continue playing with this blade because it's way too much fun. And I'll see you on the next one. Till then, 3, 2, 1, cut. Oh shit, this one's side is sharp too, huh? I forgot. Woo!